You are now listening to the Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Season 2, new intro, let the story begin.
One time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 1 time for the lovers, 2 times for the ladies, 3 times for the brothers, 4 times for the babies. Do you love her? 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 Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. Brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin, love her brown. She my brown skin, love her brown skin. Hold me down, yeah.
Once again, I would like to thank Dream Out Loud for giving me this record from Malaka Shaw, DMV artist. I'm telling y'all right now, he is on the next wave. So before I begin this podcast, first, I would like to say thank you so much for everybody's support. I mean, we've blazed through 35,000 downloads. We got a lot of stuff planned for you coming in the near future. Remember, save the date. November 11th through 13th, we'll be hosting the first Minority Trailblazer Summit. It's going to be a crazy event. Got some crazy keynote speakers lined up. And I'm just excited for it. So remember, the website, all the information will be dropping soon. Please be of note. And the last thing before we jump into the episode, you already know where I'm about to go. I need you, if you are on an iPhone right now, to do one thing. 1, share the podcast with a couple friends that could benefit from it. 2, we are in the search for sponsors. I've opened up the floodgates now. So if you got a company, want to get your word out to a couple thousand people, millennial demographic, hit me up, greg@greggyhill.com. I also will be dropping a couple links so we can get you on the show if you want to share a message. So that will be coming soon. But most importantly, leave a review. We got 84 reviews and only 35,000 downloads. That don't make no sense. So please rate a review. And this is how you do it if you're on an iPhone, right? You go to search button. You type in Minority Trailblazer Podcast. Then you go to review. And then you click leave a review. So it's not as easy as it seems, but please make sure you do it. I want to read a couple. Brittany Patrick. This podcast said the refreshing light on wonderful orgs and business minorities that are leading our nation. I especially love how transparent and uplifting each guest has been. Many blessings to you, G Hill. The next by Coco3123. Typically, I don't write reviews, but I'm absolutely inspired by this podcast, and I can and have listened for hours. Also, Global Donica Season 1 has been so inspirational, and I have made this podcast a part of my business regimen. Please keep up the good work. Also, Quan 1123, as a high schooler, these stories that are shared have been so inspirational. Jermaine Cole, I love listening to this podcast on my way to work in the morning. Great inspiration to start the day. Also, Go Ali J, I think I said that wrong. Please forgive me. I love this podcast because it's straightforward and real. Using his own stories and stories from others, Greg takes you through a simple truth that can apply to anybody. Do yourself a favor and listen. Woo, that's amazing, phenomenal. Thank y'all for the support. So make sure, like I said, leave a rating and review. I don't care if you do 3 stars, 4 stars. I'll prefer 5 stars. But please, let's get us to 100 by episode 28, all right? We at 84. That means we need 16 people. So if you haven't already done it, please do. Oh, man. I would be remiss if I did not say this one thing. If you are located in Atlanta, Georgia, or Washington, D.C., please pay close attention to this. If you're feeling this podcast, you're feeling the guest, what she's spitting, she is having a Your Wealthy Year tour, small group setting for entrepreneurs, for business owners, for people that just want to improve their personal finances. June 10th in Atlanta, Georgia, June 17th in Washington, D.C., and a date to be announced in New York City. And you can find all the information at yourwealthyyear.com. That is yourwealthyyear.com. And the information will be in the show notes. So if you're in those cities, I advise you to make an investment and attend those events because it will change your financial future, okay? Let's go ahead and jump into the show because this show is about to be a banger. On this show, we interview young, successful minorities in a variety of fields to educate, empower, and inspire our current and future generational leaders. And before I begin, I just want to quantify because I got a couple emails from a couple of my readers, and they're like, Greg, you keep saying young, like I'm 48. I love your podcast. I'm sending to all my friends, like, please. I'm talking about young in the mind, young in the spirit, young in the body. So please, Minority Trailblazer Nation, don't be offended by the word young. So if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a young professional, or I said that we're young again, if you're an older professional, whatever age or group you're in, and if you're looking to save and earn more money, this is the episode of you. Yeah, I'm going to slow down. I know I'm talking real fast, but I'm just excited because we have an amazing young woman, Black Girl Magic. I said young again, Black Girl Magic episode today. And let me just read a little bit of the bio. And I always read the bios because I'm just amazed by the guests that agree to be on the show and what they've all accomplished. So let me do it real quick. She is a personal finance coach, speaker, finance expert, entrepreneur, and founder of Finances Demystified. She has a strong passion working for professionals, entrepreneurs, and people of all ages to bring their dreams to reality. She has worked in major brokerage firms such as UBS Financial Services and Edelman Financial Services, where she began her career. She has also received various accolades, such as Top 30 Under 30 in Washington, D.C., the D.C. Future Business Leader of American Business Person of the Year, the top financial advisor for millennials in the U.S. And she also serves on the board as the D.C. Young Entrepreneur, Minority Trailblazer Nation. I am excited to bring to you Dominique Broadway to the Minority Trailblazer podcast. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me.
Oh, I'm amazing. I'm amazing right now. Like, I'm excited because I know you about to add some incredible value to our listeners. And I'm excited.
Yeah, I can hear your excitement. No, but I'm excited to be here. This is dope. I've been following you for a while, so this should be really great.
No, it is going to be great. And for all the listeners, if you're new to the show, we always start our episodes, every show off with a quote because I'm a huge quote guy. So Dominique, if you can just share us a quote that you live by and then give us a story on how you apply it to your everyday life.
Yeah. So my favorite quote, and I don't even know if I feel like I should make this like my quote, because I feel like I'm the only one that says it. And then when I say it, people are like, wow, that's really great. But it's something that I live by every single day. And it's simply, don't fear failure, fear regret. And ever since, I first started my business, I feel like that's the thing that keeps me going every single day when, it can get really scary as an entrepreneur. And it's very easy to focus on the possibility of failing. And I do not fear failure at all. Mm-hmm. And I guess where I kind of got this from, I was reading an article. This was I was maybe 22 years old, and it was about an older gentleman. He was on his deathbed and he was like 90 years old. And they were saying, what do you, kind of reflecting on his life. And he kept saying that he had so much regret. He wished he had done this. He wished he had done that. He wished he had spent more time with his family. He wished he had not worked so hard. He wished he had traveled more. All these things that he wished that he had done. Mm-hmm. And it just really sat with me. And I was just like, man, I don't want to wake up at that age and be like, I wish I had done this. I wish I had done that. Being full of regret that's scary to me. I fear that. Mm-hmm. And I think that even, when I started my business, I wasn't scared of failing. To me, starting my business was basically like, okay, I'm going to start this. And worst case scenario is I'll lose my house. I'll lose my car.
That's a worst case scenario.
To me, that was not scary for some reason, because I think I've seen so many people lose things, but you usually get them back and usually get them back 2 times fold, right? So anyway, that's my saying. Don't fear failure, fear regret. And I even got it printed on some coffee mugs because I'm like, I need to see this every day. I need to see this every day because it's very easy to start getting scared of launching a project because it may fail, and I just much rather say, at least I tried versus I wish I had tried.
That's amazing right there. And that's a great segue into the first part of the show where we kind of share who you are, your background, and your story. So if you could just speak to kind of where you're from, like behind the Demystify, the finance guru, the millennial expert in finance, like who is Dominique Broadway?
Wow. I don't know. Where should I start? I don't even know.
Start from the bottom.
From the beginning. So I was born on a Tuesday. No, just like no, but I'm actually from Washington D.C. So I'm a January baby. I was born January 22nd, 1985. So I'm a true millennial. But yeah, I'm actually from Washington D.C. Born in Washington D.C. Raised in Maryland and PG County and mainly Montgomery County, and then for a short stint PG County. I went to public school, private schools. But I ended up going to Bowie State University where I got my bachelor's.
Hold up real quick, because you skipping, because I read online that at 13 you were a vice president of explain what you did at 13. Yeah. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, so I've actually, I guess, taken it back a little bit. I always forget about those years. I had my first business when I was about probably 6 or 7. Well, 7. I would say 6 or 7 years old. Actually started making bracelets for people and selling them because I just wanted to make my own money. And I got tired of my mom saying, no, like, oh, can I buy this? And they're like, no. And I'm like, okay, clearly she's controlling her own money, so I need to get my own money. So that was probably my very, very first business. Literally, not taking, but you go to camp and they have like GIMP. You can like make like the box and the barrel. Yeah. So sometimes I would just take a little extra GIMP home with me from camp, and I would make box and barrel bracelets. And my mom was like, "Oh, you're really good at this." So she would take me to the craft store, and I would buy like beads and things of that nature, and I would sell them. And I always feel like that's when my entrepreneurial spirit started, because I would make these things, and when we would go to the store, and I'd be like, "Oh, Mom, I need some money to buy something." She's like, "Well, where's all the money you made?" I'm like, "Oh, I left it at home." And she's like, "You always leave your money at home." Like, I'm like, "Yeah, because I'm, as my friends say, I'm pretty frugal and cheap."
I leave my money. That is funny. So you making money, like, okay, yeah, where your money? I left it at home.
I left it at home. I'll pay you back when we get home, and like never pay her back. So it worked. But yeah, going after that, I forgot about that. I think I was maybe 13 or 14.
The vice president.
One of my friends I'm actually still really good friends with, his name is Michael Chambers. He started a company called Kids Interactive Data Systems, and he was one of those like genius kids. He was like maybe 15 at the time, and it was interesting. I was looking. I wanted to make some more money, and I remember like he put like an ad in like, I don't know, like the Penny Saver or something crazy back in the day. We didn't have Craigslist, and I applied like just to come work with him. Like I guess like as his assistant. It was like $8 an hour or something crazy, and he ended up really liking me and making me vice president. And basically what we did was, it was 2 teens basically running a company, and we trained like thousands of kids, when I look back on it, how to use computers.
What?
Basic computer software, like how to use Word and, Paint and all these, I can't even remember all the softwares that were there back then, but that's what we did. So there were kids who would come who were 10, 12 years old, sometimes younger, and they would come on Saturdays and we would train them how to use computers. And this is before they were teaching computers as like a regular class in school. And so we did that for a few years. Maybe I think I was there for about 2 to 3 years, and then he went to college, and I tried to continue to run it by myself, but it was kind of difficult because I was, getting older as well, and I was in high school. So yeah, and it was interesting. I always forget about that. But yeah, we had like office space and everything.
Wow.
We were like a legit business.
And real quick, give us the biggest thing you learned from that experience. Being like, first of all, 7 years old, you started, and in 13, you're training thousands of kids on how to do computer and Word, and you didn't have an engineering degree, or you didn't have any of that. So what's your biggest taking point from that experience right there?
I have to say, now that you're asking, I think, it's really just going after what you want and doing what you want to do. You don't need to be qualified, And I think what I learned is having confidence is key when you're being an entrepreneur, because most entrepreneurs, they have these ideas and they create something, and then they find a technical partner, or they find someone who has the skills that they don't have to make the bigger goal and dream happen. But for me, I think I took out of that just the ability to do what you want to do without not necessarily always having what people would consider to be the requirements to complete that task. You know, and I think that's key. And I think, you know, I meet entrepreneurs all the time. They're like, oh, I want to start this, but I can't because I don't have this. I don't know how to do that. And I've never been a kind of person that let things that I didn't have or things that I didn't know how to do stop me from doing. And I think that's probably something like, you know, you're bringing it up now. That's probably something that I learned at 13 or even 7. And I carry over even now, you know, at 31, recently turned 31. And I don't worry about what I don't know how to do because I can figure it out. Or if there's someone else who can help me figure it out. So,
man, first of all, I had a clap, bravo, because you've been very adamant about saying your age in this show. Like, like you said, you got your exact birthday. You said your age. Like, wow, you're owning it. Yes.
Yeah. Hey, I'm just happy to be around. I mean, a lot of people ain't make it this long. So.
Amen. So now take us to college. Like, where'd you go to college?
So I went to college at Bowie State University, and I have to say I wasn't super ecstatic about going to college. I mean, education is great, but I just always felt like you learn more out in the real world than you do in school. So when it came time to apply to colleges, and I did really good academically in high school, but when it came time to apply to college, I was like, like, okay, I'm just doing it because this is what you're supposed to do. But I don't feel like I took it as seriously as I should have. I applied to a bunch of, you know, historically Black colleges like University of Maryland as well, non-historically Black college. And, you know, I got accepted into a few, but I just wasn't excited. And I ended up just going to Bowie State University because it was local and because it was cheap. And I didn't want any student loans. I just did not want to enter the world with student loans. And of course, I was that nerd that was also thinking about that type of stuff as well. In high school and college, like, I don't want to be graduating with a bunch of debt, you know? And so I went to Bowie State University, got my bachelor's in banking and finance. And I went on later on in life because everybody else was doing it, honestly, got my master's. Not saying it was a waste of time, but it was probably a waste of time for me.
So where'd you get your master's at?
I got my master's at University of Maryland University College. So I did it completely online.
Oh, and what?
Yeah. Oh, in financial management.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I stuck with the finance stuff. I mean, it's great. It did teach me a lot more higher level finance things, which allow me to serve, you know, just to do higher level finance things. I actually serve as a CFO of a celebrity cigar company as well, that I'm doing. So it does give me those skills, but I don't know. It was kind of a waste of time for me just because I'm an entrepreneur. No one ever asked me about my degrees. Mm-hmm. It's, you know, it's stuff I would have learned in the real world. So to me, it was kind of a waste of time, but I did get my master's, at University of Maryland University College. So
I got you. So 2 questions on that. Mm-hmm. First being, as a kid or even as a college, what led you down the path of finance? Because I mean, the entrepreneurs, a lot of times, I mean, the finances, a lot of us are our weaknesses, our kryptonite. So in general, what led you down that path? Was your parents' background in finance? Like, what led you down the finance path?
Yeah, this is a question I get all the time. So my mom was an accountant. So she was into finance. The interesting thing, she did accounting when I was a small child, and then she started her own business. She actually used to help people who were behind on their mortgage, and she had a company. It was called Help Save My Home, and she was helping people who literally were losing their homes for good reasons, not because they bought more home than they could afford, like what the issue was when the whole real estate bubble happened. But she was helping people before the real estate bubble happened, when people were losing their homes because they lost their jobs or because, you know, their significant other passed away. And then there was a reduction in income, and she was helping them to restructure their debt with the company and, you know, be able to stay in their homes. And she did that for a long time. So she was an entrepreneur. My dad was not in the finance portion at all. He was, what did he do? Oh, my dad was a pressman. I couldn't even remember. My dad was a pressman. He basically did like printing and things like that. So, but outside of that, he was always an entrepreneur, dibbling and dabbling in like buying stores and things of that nature. So I definitely had 2 entrepreneurs in my family, and even my stepfather, he owned a security alarm company, and he ended up growing it to be fairly large. He doesn't have it anymore, but he, you know, even later on in life with my mom marrying him, being able to see him as an entrepreneur and seeing my parents being able to create their own schedules made me realize that I wanted to be an entrepreneur very early on. Now, the finance piece, I realized that I was always extremely infatuated with money. And I told you, even as a kid, I was like, I need my own money. I want my own money. I realized that when you have your own money, you can do what you want to do. And so for me, money always equaled freedom. So when I was in high school, I would always read about like these teen entrepreneurs or really wealthy people and how they made their money. And everyone always talked about having like a portfolio and investing in the stock market. And I'm just like, what is this? You know what I mean? Why am I not investing in the stock market? Clearly, this is how people make money. And I remember reading just a couple of different articles about how you can make money while you're sleeping and how like the wealthy have multiple streams of income. They're making money while they're sleeping. And the one thing that I took from a lot of these different articles that I would read, because like my parents would get Black Enterprise and things like that. And one of the things that I felt like I could put into place, like I couldn't go buy a store and have people working in it and, you know, and make money while I sleep. But I realized I could invest in the stock market. So I remember going out and buying like investing for dummies and like stock market for dummies and things like that. And I would read those books on the weekends, like after school. And I was just really, really infatuated about learning how to use the stock market, understand the stock market. And so that was like all throughout high school. Then I would sit down with my grandfather. He was actually like the chief of IT for the Department of Defense. And so he had a TSP, a thrift savings plan, and he would show me his thrift savings plan. Like, these are the investments that I have. And, you know, when he would get things in the mail from like some of his investments, like mutual funds and things like that. And he didn't necessarily have a lot of private investments because, you know, African Americans is kind of like, we just contribute to retirement and that's it. So that's, you know what I mean? So that's all he would show me. So he didn't have a lot of private investments. And actually no one in my family really was investing in the stock market outside of their retirement accounts. And half of them didn't even understand how they worked, except my grandfather. He understood. So he would show me like, hey, Dominique, I picked this fund in my retirement account. And this is the prospectus. This is what they send you, you know, to help you understand the mutual fund. And I would sit and read these like 40-page prospectuses trying to understand.
At what age were you doing this?
I was like 15,
Good
like
gracious.
15 years old. Yeah. So anyway, long story short, that's basically how it got started. And then once, like I said, because no one in my family was really investing in the stock market, they didn't really understand how to guide me at all. And I didn't really have anyone to ask. So when I turned 18, when I was legal enough to open my own, you know, investment account, I did so. And I just started playing around. And, you know, people make investing extremely complex. And I was trying to make it complex too. So I was like, okay, I got to read Entrepreneur Magazine and see like what they're saying to invest in. So I need to try to buy oil stocks or energy stocks or, you know, and I didn't really understand that stuff. So after a while, I just started buying things that I liked. So I would buy McDonald's stock or Disney stock. And I really just dibbled and dabbled. And I didn't have tons of money, but I would take $50 here, $100 there. Because, you know, I was entering college at the time and I didn't have tons of money. But any money that I had from working and earning, I would try to put it back in the stock market. So I remember when I first bought Apple stock, I was in college. I paid, I think it was like $50 a share.
Oh my goodness. What?
Yes. Yeah. It was like, I think $50 or $60 a share. And I remember when it shot up, this is like, we all have a big financial mistake. The stock shot up to like $100 a share. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've earned so much money. This is what they're talking about. I sold everything.
No.
I know. I sold everything. And then of course I did buy more like once it went over 100, but then it went up, you know, I think it went up to like what, $500 a share. And then they did a stock split and it went, you know, and the prices went back down. So it's one of those things I still beat myself up about it because I'm like, really, Dominique, why did you sell? So, but I was excited and I didn't know what to do. If I had someone to ask and say, what should I do? They probably would have told me, you know, sell it. But then again, I was in college and I kind of needed the money, honestly. So it wasn't like it was money that I could afford just to sit, but I made money from it. And then that just really sparked everything for me.
Man, that's huge. And the three biggest things that I want our audience to grab for that I kind of grabbed from was the first, you sought knowledge. Like you sought knowledge. I mean, even though your people around you, they may not have been able to help you, but you said, okay, like, what does this look like? Or what should I be reading? Because sometimes the people you're around you, they may not be able to help you, but they may be able to direct you into resources and people that can get you on your way.
Exactly.
And that is huge. Like, and then the second part, you had a appetite for what you wanted to do. Like some people out there that want to start businesses, they don't have an appetite for reading books. They don't have an appetite for attending conferences. They don't have an appetite for really learning what they're doing. They just thinking about it or in their own notebooks and whatnot. But you can't get to the next level if you're not studying those that are on the next level. So
yeah,
I said, whoa, you at 15, you're reading 40-page stuff. And finance is a dry read.
Oh, they're not. It's not exciting.
And the terms and whatnot, like it's crazy. It's a dry read. So that's the second thing. And the third thing is you started with what you had. You didn't wait and say, I need 10,000 in the bank to invest. You said, what can I manage right now? And I think later in the show, we're going to talk about specifically for the young professionals and the college students and those that even the old, I keep saying old people. I'm not going to say old. I can't say that anymore. But people that are saving for retirement and they're like, man, I don't even have that much right now to manage, so I'm not going to do it. And that's critical. That's a fatal flaw. But we're going to get into that. So definitely start with what you have, because like yourself, at 18, I was trading stocks and whatnot, and I was just playing around with it because I said, honestly, for me, it was kind of simple. It was like, well, if a stock is $4.50, I buy 10 shares. If it goes up 20 cents, then I just did the math, and I was like, I just simplified it that way, and I wish I would have really had that, because I liked your approach, the Warren Buffett approach, only investing in stuff you understand and know. So, but we could talk about that a whole day. So let's get into something interesting on the first part as well. Let's talk about the leap of when you, get into college, corporate America, you managing funds and whatnot. So talk about that experience, but then also walk us through when you left your job, because I know a lot of people here. I talk to people every single day, and I know you do as well, that are in corporate America. They're making good money, but they're just not fulfilled, and they want to talk. And I think the leap, that's really critical. So if you could explain to your audience what you did after colleges, and then your transition from that into what you do now.
Yes. So, well, I would say my career really began while I was in college. So like I said, I went to Bowie State University. It's a historically Black college, and financial firms do not come there. They don't come there to recruit. And I realized that I really, really wanted to be either on Wall Street or like in the investing part itself. And the only companies that were coming to our school was like banks and things of that nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. But for what I wanted to do, I know I did not want to work in a bank. And I had worked actually at a local bank for a brief stint, maybe 2 months. And I was like, this is not for me. Like managing deposits and withdrawals is not the life that I'm trying to live. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it just did not work for me at all. So, anyway, I basically got an internship while I was, I think, my junior year of college. I looked online, I'm super resourceful. I realized the banks and companies that I wanted to work for were not coming to my school. So I needed to figure out a way to get into these banks and into these investment firms. And like I said, my family, they're not uber wealthy. They don't have a friend that works on Wall Street that they can call and get me in. So I needed to figure out how I was going to get into these companies. So I looked online and I was trying to find an internship program that would accept me. Now, mind you, I was doing mediocre in college. I was not feeling it. It was okay. It just wasn't for me. It just was not for me. I'm not going to lie. If I tell you guys what my GPA was when I graduated, I don't even know if my parents know. It was like a 2.3.
No, not the finance expert. Please, not the finance expert.
But those are the only classes that I was doing good in, was my investing classes and my business classes. All that other stuff was a waste of time, like biology and all that stuff for me, just because it didn't work for me. I didn't understand it. I didn't care to understand it. So anyway, my GPA, it was like a 2.3 when I graduated. So I was like, I know I have the worst score ever when I was looking for internship programs. And all of them required like a 3.5, and they were pretty much only taking students from like Harvard, Princeton, Yale, things of that nature. So I went online, I found an internship program that accepted me. And basically it was a summer program. So you had to pay for the summer program. So I was like, all right, I got to convince my family, like, this is worth it. Cause I'm basically asking them to help me pay to go work for free in another city. So I talked to my family. I convinced everyone. They all kind of like, we'll help you do this. Right. So they helped me pay for this program. And I got like a little bit of a scholarship or whatever. So they helped me pay because I was a minority, they always need minorities. So they helped me pay for the program. I went to New York for the summer. It placed me at an internship at Morgan Stanley. That was my goal internship to be at Morgan Stanley. I was still like, yo, I cannot believe I got an internship at Morgan Stanley. Like, I'm going to New York to work at Morgan Stanley.
That's crazy. 2.3 GPA.
Yes.
You found it in internship with Morgan Stanley.
Morgan Stanley. Now, this is the kicker, Greg. So I am headed up there. The weekend I'm about to go, I get in a really bad car accident, totaled my car. Right.
Whoa.
So there was a chance that they were like, I was fine from the accident. There was so much going on because the car was totaled. It was like all this stuff. So I kind of had to it really just threw me off. Literally a couple hours after the car accident, I get a call that Morgan Stanley has cut their internship program for the summer. So I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, this is just bad thing after bad thing, right? So now they're like, well, if we can't place you in a new internship, you may not be able to come. Now, mind you, I'm preparing to go to New York for the summer. Like, I'm literally supposed to leave the next day. So the following day, they worked it out where they're like, hey, this company said that they'll interview a couple of you who, was supposed to go to Morgan Stanley. You have to be on the call like tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. type of thing. I'm like, perfect. Mm-hmm. I get on the call. They like me. UBS Financial Services takes us in. Now I've gone from working at an amazing investment firm. Now I'm working at the top wealth management firm in the world that exclusively deals with high net worth clients. Now I'm just like, I had never even heard of this company because they they were so big and so unknown to someone who is not rich that I was like, who is this company? They're like, oh, you went from like a great company to the big league.
So from a car accident, you thought everything was over. You almost lost your life. You get a call. Oh, man. Oh, by the way, this internship you're really pumped about, you paid for, oh, it's canceled. And then all of a sudden, boom, a door opens.
And then the door opens. And so I'm like, so then I started researching and then I'm like getting nervous, like, wow. Okay, Morgan Stanley is a commonly known company. UBS Financial Services is not a commonly known company because it's only commonly known amongst the uber wealthy, right? So now I'm nervous. So anyway, I start the internship. Internship is great. It's a great experience. But the interesting thing is the person that I'm working with, the financial advisor that I'm working with, my first day there was his first day there. Oh. So him and his team, he had a team of like 15 people. He's a huge wealth manager. Most of his clients had $150, $200 million. So I'm basically helping them transition from Morgan Stanley to here, to UBS. So I spend the whole summer transferring millions and millions. I probably transferred over, like $2 billion worth of assets and helped them like kind of get it reinvested throughout the summer. Weeks. I'm sorry?
100-hour weeks.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I worked for free. I mean, it wasn't necessarily 100-hour weeks, but because I worked for free and I was like, y'all ain't about to have me as a slave in here. So it was usually 50, 60-hour weeks. But I learned so much. And the funniest thing about being at that internship was that I was the only person that came from historically Black college. First of all, there was not a lot of people that looked like me at all, besides like the receptionist or the doorman at the building. Like, no lie. Yeah, and the janitor. No, not the janitor. No, they were Spanish. But yeah, so anyway. So like the doorman at the front door, like literally a receptionist, that's it. And then I was talking to other people that were in my internship program, and they came from NYU. They came from Yale, Princeton, USC, like all these great companies. All these great schools. And I was like, oh, I went to Bowie State. They're like, Boise State? I'm like, no, Bowie State. So literally.
Just like when I go to like AT&T, I'm like, it's A&T.
Mm-hmm. It was so funny. I'm like, wow, no one really knows my school. So I remember showing them the website. They're like, oh, this is like a real school. And they're like, oh, it's like for Black people. I'm like, oh my gosh, where am I? Anyway, so that was the internship experience. It ended up going great. But towards the end of the internship, I wasn't still 100% sure if I wanted to be in the financial services industry because I was just like, I am so not connected with these people. Like, this is managing extreme wealth. I mean, this is extreme wealth when your savings account, let's just call them really big savings accounts, has $100 million, you're just on a whole nother level. Ugh. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole, even for your savings account to have $20 million, that's just another level.
For your savings account, I have $10,000.
I know, right? Look, everybody else's goal is $10,000 for the year. It's like, just let me get $10,000. Just save $10,000 this year. Yeah. So it was really interesting. Anyway, so I come back from the internship. I thought I wanted to move to New York, and I decided that I didn't want to because when I started looking at apartments, I was like, the cost of living is high. So I come back home. I finished my senior year of school. I'm about to graduate. I email them at UBS like, hey, I want to have a full-time job with you guys. They say, perfect, you can come back to New York. And I said, look, I think I want to stay in the area. So they said, well, we'll call the Bethesda office and see if we can get you there. I go to the Bethesda office. They hire me on the spot. They're like, you're awesome. Let's do this. So I get a full-time job there, still managing not as wealthy clients. Well, they're still wealthy, more 50 million, $60 million clients. Right. And then at this time before, I graduated. Everybody else graduates in the spring. I graduated in the fall because I failed an accounting class, long story. And, so I actually ended up buying a condo that summer because I had got a full-time job offer. So I had income. Bought my condo. I was 22 years old. I was technically still in school. Moved to Bethesda, Rockville area, and lived about 10 minutes from my job. But I had to commute back and forth to Bowie to finish this last class, which I barely passed. Mm-hmm. So that's what I did the whole semester. So anyway, so I worked at UBS Financial Services for maybe 3-4 years. No, probably about 3 years. The stock market tanked. Everybody got laid off. I was a part of that reduction in workforce. Immediately got another job. Actually, no, I think I was off for like 6 months. I was out of work for about 6 months because I wasn't even sure if I wanted to go in the financial services industry anymore because it was such a toxic environment, like very cutthroat. And it just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So I was out of work for about 6 months, but I was fine because I always kept my expenses extremely low. I had more than enough money saved. So I actually spent that time traveling. Like I went to Guatemala and did an economic development trip and just like was chilling. And I finally got a job offer and I took it, went to another large firm, stayed there for a little while, hopped to another firm, and I ended up in my mentor's firm. So that was like my dream job for me. I'm at my mentor's firm. Black-owned firm, awesome company. Thought this is where I was going to be. You know, he's making a couple million a year. That would have been me making a couple million a year. I was there for about 5 months and I was like, yo, I can't do this. So this is the leap. This is the leap.
It builds. So I'm going to stop you right there. I'm going to get, because the leap, that's going to transition into the present day, kind of what you do, explain your audience the present day. And also I got some questions, some pointed questions about financial tips, because I'd be remiss if I didn't utilize your expertise in a portion of this show. But before we end the first round, I want you to talk about two things. The first being, what was the lowest point of your journey? Take us to, I don't want to say it a failure, but bring us where you're at for the lowest point of this journey thus far. And then the second, I'm gonna answer that question first.
Well,
please.
I would say my lowest point is actually when I took the leap. It was then, if you don't mind me going to that part, that was the lowest point.
Okay,
of
so
my
we're gonna open that in to the transition, because I want to make sure the people don't lose that. So we're gonna get the transition. But all right, boom. Knowing what you know today, right? What would you tell yourself 5 years ago?
I think what I would have told myself 5 years ago, that it's okay to not have done everything as planned. Like, I'm not a failure for not reaching all of the goals that I had set for myself. I had extremely lofty goals. Like, I was going to be a millionaire by 25. That did not happen.
Same here.
And, it didn't happen. And I was stressed about it. And I felt down on myself about it. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it's going to be okay. You're not going to reach all of your goals. And it's okay. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, it really is going to be okay. And in the moment, it doesn't feel like it's going to be okay. So I think that's what I would tell myself. Like, it really is going to be okay.
That's a testament in itself. So boom, second part of the show. First part, phenomenal. Second part, present day. What do you do? Who are you? Who is the finance coach? But also, I guess we can lead into it to talking about the lowest point of your journey thus far. Yeah.
So before I go into where I am now, just really quickly, the leap, which was also the lowest point in my life. The leap, basically, I went to my mentor and I told him, like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. So he's like, all right. So I leave, I quit, I'm done. And I spent the summer trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I thought I didn't want to do finance anymore because I was like depressed. Like, I was working and I was making really good money. This is also a low point. I was making really great money. I was very financially comfortable. I had an awesome home, awesome car. I was traveling once a month. I had a great life, but I felt very empty. And I mean, it's the point where sometimes I would just like go to work, come home, and like my evenings were turning into like just doing the same thing. I come home, like I may go to happy hour, come home, watch, like it was like Seinfeld and like The Simpsons or Friends, or I think it was like Friends, Seinfeld. So that was like the shows
comforting
that would come on back to back. Yeah, like they would come on back to back, and I would like watch them every evening. I was just like, this cannot be life. This is, and now I guess I'm just supposed to wait and find a husband, get married, have kids. And then I was like, this is just not what I thought life was going to be. So I quit. And when I quit, that's really the lowest point in my life ever. The first year was okay because I quit. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to open a cupcake shop. This was around the time in Georgetown Cupcake opened their shop. Yeah. And I realized I like to eat cupcakes, but not bake cupcakes. That
finance coach making cupcakes. Yep.
That killed quick. I was like, I definitely prefer to eat them than bake them. And then I realized that my other passion that I've always had was real estate. So I went to Baltimore and went to like the hoods of the hoods of the hoods of Baltimore and put down contracts on a few properties. These houses were $6,000, $7,000, nothing expensive. The goal was for me to buy the homes, renovate them, take the equity out, renovate them, and Section 8 them. That was the goal. And for some reason, every single contract fell through on these things. I'm like, what is going on with life? Like, this is supposed to be my new business. This is what I'm going to do. So that failed. And I'm just like, what am I going to do? Like, I need to get a job or something. Like, things get a little tough. So I ended up starting my company. And I said, you know what? I think I want to do finance, but I want to do it my way. So basically, I got a booth at this event called For Sisters Only. And I paid $1,000 for this booth, which was still crazy. I would never pay $1,000 for a booth. I paid $1,000 to have a booth for this expo. And I ended up literally the night, like within the 2 days before that, starting my company. I got a one-page landing site. It was just DominiqueBroadway.com. It accepted emails. I had one of my friends do it. I was calling my friends like, look, I don't got tons of money, but can you make me a one-page landing site and some business cards? I'll pay you back somehow. I'll take you to dinner or something. He was like, all right. He made me a banner. My best friend came down from New Jersey. She helped me work the booth. And that was literally how my business started. And I wish I could even like show you guys the picture of that. That was like, wow, I never realized that was the beginning of my career, of my future, where I am now. And it was great. But like I said, I had no preparation. I had maybe 3 days of preparation before that. So I didn't have any prices. I didn't have any business structures in place or anything. I had about 95 people that signed up at my booth that day. I ended up making about a third of them clients. So that's how I started my email list. And that's how I started getting clients. But the issue was I didn't have any pricing set. I didn't have anything set. So it was kind of like, oh, what do you need help with? All right, here. All right. Give me $100. I'll do it. I mean, literally, this is how I'm running business.
I'm just we just eating whatever you can do. I got you.
Yeah, whatever you got, I'll help you with. And I was like, literally changing people's financial lives. But I was ruining my own finances. And this was the lowest part of my life where I was just like, God, why would you bring me here to put me to a point where I might lose everything? And I was like winning awards and I was helping everybody, but I was so focused on trying to run the business that I didn't do a good job of putting the structures in place, realizing what pricing needs to look like, versus my time. So I was working extremely hard and not making enough money. And so to the point where I was not making enough money to cover all of my monthly bills and all of my expenses. So I ended up draining my entire savings account. I'm talking everything, retirement funds, every single account I had gone.
And you were helping people, getting awards, changing lives. And it's it doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. And then I felt like a hypocrite because I was like, I'm in financial ruins right now, but I just helped 3 people buy a house. I just helped 4 people over here climb out of credit card debt. I just helped this person reduce their student loan. And then this person, now they have an 800 credit score and my credit score is going down. Theirs going up, mine's going down. Literally, this is what was going on. And I had to stop. And one day it hit me and my house had entered into foreclosure. Oh, man. And I got behind on my car payments and I was just like, what am I going to do? So I finally called my mom. I was like, Mom, I got to tell you something. Things ain't as great as they look. And we had a really long conversation. She sat down with me and became my financial advisor, my financial coach. And then I went and talked to my grandfather about it and he helped me even more. And literally I needed someone to help me call my mortgage provider and say, this is the issue. Because I was ducking their calls. I didn't know what to do. I've always paid my mortgage on time. I was like, what am I going to do? They're not going to believe me. They're just going to come and take the keys away. That's what you think. That's not even how it works. But you think they're going to just come take the keys away. And he sat down with me and he helped me, my mom and me finally asking for help. And all days, I was so scared of asking for help and them and disappointing them. That was like one of my biggest, I went to therapy for this. Like that was one of my biggest fears was disappointing my family and them being disappointed in me. And what we forget a lot of times when we're scared to talk to our friends and families about our problems, they love us unconditionally. They're not going to be disappointed in us. And only thing they said was, I wish you had told me earlier. We've all been through things like this. We can help you. You know what I'm saying? And they helped me. And I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose my car. I didn't lose my house. I didn't lose anything because I asked for help. And then everything turned around. I took my business more seriously. I created better structures. I was able to finally, generate enough income to get help, to hire an assistant, which helped grow more. And things turned around. And that was the lowest point of my life where I was angry with God. Because I'm like, I knew. It's so interesting when you're on God's path. Like, this is what God wants you to do. I know this is what God wants me to do. I could have never thought of this ever. Mm-hmm. And it's like he wanted me to do this, but then he left me. That's how I felt. Like, why would you leave me? This is ridiculous. Like, why am I helping everybody, but I'm losing my house? Mm-hmm. I didn't understand. And I've always had tons of money. Has never been an issue for me as long as I've been working. Because I've always kept my expenses low. People always say, you always look so great. You have great clothes. I may look extravagant, but I'm probably getting it from Target. Mm-hmm. That's just how I roll. I don't like to waste my money. Yeah, it's just facts. So anyway, so that's where it is. And now I have this awesome financial planning, personal finance coaching company that offers like financial capability solutions to nonprofits, corporations. I do tons of public speaking at colleges that I could have never gotten accepted into. I'm actually going in a couple of weeks to speak at Wharton. Like,
that's
what?
Crazy.
Yes. I mean, I know. It's just like so crazy. And it's just like, why am I speaking at these schools that would have never accepted me? And it's such a blessing. And now I offer, I'm working one-on-one with millennials and helping them to understand their finances, helping them create financial plans. One of the biggest things I ask people, how did you hear about me and why do you want to work with me? I like to know, like, why do you want to work with me? Because I want to make sure we can work together. As far as my one-on-one clients go, a lot of times they say, I tried to call this company or I tried to call that company, and they wouldn't talk to me, or they didn't even call me back because I didn't have $100,000 or I didn't have $250,000. And that's why I started my company, to help those people who don't have tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of dollars yet, but they need the financial guidance so that they can get there one day. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what I'm doing now. And it's still not easy. Being an entrepreneur is tough. And, I think, you have those entrepreneurial sweats at night, you still stress, even when you're doing financially well, you're still nervous. You have to stay relevant. You have to have consistent content. And it was interesting. I was at an event recently and I got a chance to speak to the ladies that own Georgetown Cupcake. They're huge now. They're all across the country. And I asked her, I said, I'm an entrepreneur and, things are doing much better for me. I said, they were really hard in the beginning. And I said, but now they're better. And I said, but I still kind of worry about my business. I still sometimes have sleepless nights. And I was asking her, because they're so successful, I said, does this change? They have a multi-million-dollar business. And she said, no, it doesn't. She said, no matter where you get in your business, because your business is your child, you're still going to stress about it. She said, you're going to sleep a little bit better, but you're still going to have, those sleepless nights every now and then. And I sleep pretty well, though. But she said, you're still going to have those sleepless nights every now and then. You're still going to be stressed. And I was like, man. In every single, and I consider super successful, I guess we're talking revenue, having multi-million-dollar companies and having hundreds of employees. Most CEOs have told me the same thing. So, they always say you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur, but you really do. But anyway, that's where I am now. And that was the lowest point and the leap. And it's been a very interesting journey.
Yeah, man. That's I know we can go 1,000 different ways with that, but we'll save that for a webinar or something somewhere else in another medium. But I would take away some points, but I think those points you shared were powerful enough. That story, even because there's so many similarities, even within my life, man. I had to catch myself. I was like, golly, man, why am I feeling like that? But that's a testament in itself. So we're gonna go to this. What is a typical day like for you? Because I mean, you're speaking, you're coaching, you're an entrepreneur. Because I always try to ask entrepreneurs, like, what is a day like this? Well, walk us through real briefly what a typical. I know typical. There's no such thing as a typical day, but if there was a such thing, what would it look like for you?
Yeah, every day is different, but I would say a typical day for me, an average day, is I get up, I pray. I pray. I usually look at my bank accounts first thing I do in the morning. After that, I'm usually have a try to get following up on emails. I try not to let emails control my day. Following up on emails, client calls. So it may be new client calls, maybe current client calls. I may be having calls with someone who wants me to do a speaking engagement. I may go into the office. I don't meet with clients that often, but I may be going into the office, actually meeting with some of my one-on-one clients. I mean, usually in the evenings, I may be hosting a webinar. I may be hosting an event somewhere, speaking somewhere. Usually not a week goes by where I'm not speaking somewhere, either via webinar, online, or something of that nature. So every day is totally different. But, usually within the week, there's, tons of emails, one-on-one meetings, also meetings with my project manager, with my interns, with my graphic design team. Every week is totally different, but that's what I like about it. And then if I decide, hey, I want to take off next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because I want to fly to Mexico, I can do that. And that's my favorite thing about being able to work from wherever I am. And sometimes, like, I'm addicted to flights. That's one of my big budget busters, and I love just buying super cheap flights and just hopping and just leaving. Like, oh, I'm going to Vegas tomorrow. Like, what? Like, last year I did that. I went to Vegas. It must be nice. I went to Vegas for 7 days. I got my tickets for $30 round trip. I was like,
stop. So, now you got me as a concept. If you ever see something like that, you gotta sit. What? You gotta sit there.
I need to start a website or something. No, I got tickets for $30 round trip. I ended up staying at the Planet Hollywood. Ended up getting a room for like $50 a night. I ended up staying for 7 days and just worked from Vegas for an entire week. Like, that's the fun part. But that's not even balling. Like, that's actually really inexpensive. You know what I'm saying? And then when I'm there, you get breakfast is real cheap. And then for dinner, I usually go to happy hour. So everything's $5-6. Like, I'm just really frugal, but I feel like you could still have a great time. So, so those things happen throughout the week, but I'm not always necessarily in the DC area. Sometimes I'm just everywhere. So
I feel it. And I'm about to one quick question briefly, because I don't think I ask it enough, especially for the entrepreneurs I have on the show. Can you share with the audience a few reasons why they should not become an entrepreneur? Because I think that's the point. We always talk about, like, entrepreneurs for some reason it became a buzzword for freedom and all this other stuff. But please, I know that from their story they can kind of see reasons, but if you could please speak to real briefly why people shouldn't become entrepreneurs, because I think it needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think it's one of those things people are scared to talk about, but there's a lot of reasons not to become an entrepreneur. I would say being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. To keep this brief, being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. If you do not have the ability to be persistent in reaching for your goal, you're not going to be a successful entrepreneur. If you are not a good salesperson, you're not going to be a good entrepreneur, because what people don't realize, people look down upon people in sales, but people who sell really make the world go around. Every single corporation, no matter what the corporation is, if you sell Oreos, there's a person that's managing these contracts to sell Oreos to grocery stores. There's a salesperson that's everything. If you're not ready to sell, you're not going to succeed as an entrepreneur. I actually had to tell a client the other yesterday, that she needed to make her entrepreneurial business her part-time job. And she felt like she was failing by doing it. But I felt like, based on where she is right now, she's a single mom with 2 kids. Okay. And because she's a single mom with 2 kids, her business is not consistent. The income isn't consistent. She gets behind on bills at times because she's trying to do this business. And she said she actually got an offer for a full-time job. And I told her that right now, in this time in her life, she should not be an entrepreneur, because she's not it's great to go after your dreams, but she has 2 people that depend on her, and you're affecting them in a way, right? So I told her that she needs to go and just set a goal of a year, set a savings goal, and say, hey, I'm gonna go work for a year. If I can save X amount of dollars and she was doing real estate, do real estate part-time. And if I can get my real estate income to at least equal X amount of dollars, and then I will go back full time. It's not for everyone. You lose a lot of stability when you're an entrepreneur. I'm so happy that I have my stability back financially, because it was a long time I didn't. And, you lose that stability. A lot of times you're going to be a little bit behind on retirement, all these different types of things. So you have to be wary of that. So it's not for everyone, but it's difficult. It's really difficult. It's really not for everyone.
Yeah, that's say no more of that. That's real. That's real. So real quick before we go to the third round, I do, and you can take this is the niche right now. I got 3 questions, and the question is the first one. This is the applicable advice. What advice would you give to a college student with limited money, just about money and saving in general?
With limited money, I would say just if you have limited money, I would say try to make as much money as you can while you're in school. When I was in school, I think a lot of times people get really lazy a little bit when they're in college. And I understand college is hard. And it's like this is the only time in life where you're going to have pretty minimal bills, but you can probably save a lot of what you're bringing in. And one of the things I did when I was in college, I worked I actually did marketing promotion for Starbucks, and I did a really good job. I got promoted and ended up managing like 15 people. And because I was able to manage this project, they gave me the ability to work from my dorm. So I was managing these 15 people from my dorm. So a lot of the hours that I was clocking them from my dorm. So looking for those different types of opportunities that, give you the ability to maybe work from your dorm or from home. But I would say just try to make as much money as you can while you're in school and get into the habit of saving while you're in college. Even if it's like $10, $20, because what people don't realize, they think that it's like, oh, I'm a broke college student. A lot of times it's a mindset because you can make more money. You can make money while you're in college and your expenses are low. So I would say if you can get into that habit while you're in school, it will really help you once you get out. And the other thing I would say is be realistic while you're in school about how much money you're going to make when you get out. Because I speak at colleges all the time. And when I show people what their salary is going to be when they graduate, they're like, what? They're not going to give me $100,000? Like, no, sir. No one cares if you have a degree. Get in line. Everyone has a degree. And I think just starting to realize what life is going to look like for you financially now is also really important. But I would say even if you have to start saving $10 a week, whatever, just save something. Get in that habit now of tracking your spending.
Yep. Be faithful over few. Be faithful over few. And real quick on that soapbox moment for your college students out there. Like, especially the point you monetize when you're in college, because I see a lot of cool cats in college, thousands of followers on Instagram. They're popping on social media, but they don't have no products. They're not like, and it doesn't say you have to always be selling something, but if you're going to have this brand, do something with it. Like, don't just be cool for the sake of being cool. Like, okay, be cool with a purpose. Tell other people how to be cool. Like, if you so cool, you make all this money or you're doing all this on campus, teach others how to do what you do. Some way. So get creative. Like I love when you say when you were young, you said, okay, I'm looking at others online, the teen entrepreneurs that were changing the culture, doing all this other stuff. I looked at models. I looked at the benchmarks.
Yeah.
And we got a lot of college students. They're looking at the wrong benchmarks. They're looking at, okay, I want to copy somebody, a hairstyle I see on social media. Or I want to get the blonde thing because I see Chris Brown do it. Or I see everybody else do it. Or they're wearing tight pants, so I want to wear tight pants now. It's like, whoa, but why not go look at the teen or the college entrepreneurs that are killing it?
Yes,
why not?
and there's so many
There's
of
so
them.
many, so there's no excuses. So I'm telling you, I'm going to get off the soapbox, but if you're in college listening right now, please. Let's not have this mentality that I'm in college and now I just got to call my parents when I need money or just live off refund checks. That's not the deal. The second advice, what would you give? This is for young adults that just got that are 2 or 3 years in their career making good money, but they're just not saving or they're looking to save more or just can start controlling their finances.
I would say, honestly, tracking your spending is really important. And I think people always ask me, like, how do you get rich? Everyone wants to know how to get rich. And I learned this very easy, very young, I would say, from millionaires. And the secret to getting rich is spending less than what you bring in. And it's one of those things when I tell people, they're like disappointed. Like, I was going to tell them like some hot, stock.
I pay you $150 an hour to give me this.
I know, right? And it's like, people are like, what? So, and that's it. And it's such a simple thing, but it's something that a lot of people just cannot get together. We meet people all the time who are 60 years old and they have no money saved. Clearly, they've always been spending more than what they bring in. So one of my biggest things for me, even when I was, working, being able to save $1,500, sometimes $2,000 a month because I kept my expenses extremely low. And I would say tracking your spending is really important. It's one of those things, nobody wants to do it. But if you don't know where your money's going, you need to tell your money what to do. And most people feel like they're not in control of their money because their paycheck comes in and all the bills go out and they're like, I don't have any control. Like, control your money. control it like it is your child. Control it like it's anything else that you want to control. You need to tell every dollar where to go. You need to know where your money's going. Why are you letting your money run rapid? Like, why are you doing that? Like, you need to look. And like, my favorite tool I talk about all the time is mint.com. I have all my clients.
Man, I hate Mint. I put that in the spam, man. That jump was
and
pissing me off.
I love Mint. And that's another thing. People hate Mint because it tells you about yourself.
It
like,
does.
And that's the thing. People are like, oh my gosh, Dominique, I got on Mint and I hated it. It said I spent $400 eating out. Well, it didn't lie. It was telling you the truth. And that's why you deleted the app, because you didn't like it. It told you about yourself. And I think that that's seriously the key. I mean, when you track your spending, I woke up yesterday morning, I got an alert because I have 1,000 alerts that come to my phone about my money. Somebody tried to use my credit card in Omaha. Right. So, it was an alert from Capital One and I'm on it. Right. Instead of a lot of other people who look at their statements when they come once a month, if they even look at them like, oh my gosh, someone did something in my account 3 months ago. Like, no, you have to be aware. So being extremely aware with your finances. I use Mint. That's my favorite tool. A lot of times just taking, 10, 20 minutes to set it up and looking at your bank accounts every day. I always tell people, if you looked at your bank accounts as much as you looked at your Instagram or your social media accounts, we may start actually building some wealth. And that's really the key. So.
Yeah, and I know, like I said, this is real meaty right here. And I know there's a lot more tools, but I love how we just hitting the major points where everybody can start. The third question, the entrepreneurs out there, because as an entrepreneur myself, even though I have a full-time job, I find it hard to balance between saving and investing in myself. So because I think of things like fitness, I do have a personal trainer, because I mean, the look goes into why people sadly esteem to want to be like you, and it helps with the brand and image. So I consider that an investment. I don't work out for fun, to be real.
Yeah.
And then like there's conferences, as an entrepreneur, there's always conferences, seminars, equipment to upgrade. But how do you balance investing in yourself, but also saving and building a strong foundation? Because I fell into a big pit because I was in my head, I was like, I know I'm gonna blow up financially soon. So I'm gonna put all my resources into this. I'm putting every single dollar into new equipment, conferences, seminars. But I was like, man, as I get older, I'm like, yo, I'm not addressing my savings at all. And I said, I don't care what's going to happen, because like you said, if you don't start saving now, when you get 10 million, it's easy to blow $10 million. You know that.
Oh, yeah.
So you be a millionaire. It's like, okay, cool. But if you still don't have the habit of saving, then you're going to lose it as fast as you had. So please speak to us real clearly for some tips that entrepreneurs can have with money.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur, you still have to, as an entrepreneur, you have let's say even like in your situation, which is a lot of people's situation, you work a full-time job, but you're still an entrepreneur, right? So you have your personal budget, right? Your personal budget for your personal finances, your rent, your mortgage, your car note, eating, blah, blah, blah. And then your business has a budget. Most people don't create a budget for their business. And I know I was reviewing my business budget yesterday. I hired a couple new people this month. So that's going to actually adjust my budget. In addition to the fact that I have a lot of things. I told you I'm launching a podcast soon. So I spent money on podcasting equipment. I'm doing a photo shoot Monday. So that's money I have to spend there. I'm possibly thinking about hiring a stylist for that, clothing for that, makeup for that. That's money that I've already budgeted for the month. I already know what my marketing, I call it like my marketing / growth fund. I call it like the fund that I use, the account that I have just for like when I'm ready to grow my business. So these are all activities that are going to help grow my business, the podcasting equipment, hiring staff, photo shoot. I have a new book coming out. So I just hired paid the freelancer to create all the graphics and things of that nature. So you need to create a budget. And I knew February was going to be an expensive month for me that was going to have additional expenses because of this. So I think that, you have to find that balance. So even if it's like, hey, I'm going to set aside $500 a month so that, for 3 months, so that by March, I'm going to launch this project and I'll have $1,500 to spend to execute these things. Right. And I think that a lot of times entrepreneurs don't take the time to budget for their business. I mean, most people ain't budgeting for their personal finances. So, they ain't budgeting for their business. So just really taking the time to do that and having a budget every month for your marketing or growth related expenses. And once you start hiring people, you really know how to budget because you got to pay these people. Like this, you know what I mean? You got people you have to pay. So I think that you should make sure you're having a personal budget in addition to a business budget and having, growth, conferences, things like that. I'm really fortunate that a lot of the conferences that I actually want to attend, a lot of times I'm really fortunate to be asked to speak there. Mm-hmm. So for me, a lot of times, my conference budget is pretty small because they usually will cover the travel, the hotel, and they may even pay me to speak. And then obviously I give you free tickets to the conference. Mm-hmm. But there's a few conferences that I've actually identified this year that I want to go to, that I want to go and just be an attendee. Because sometimes you just want to go somewhere and just be an attendee. Like, you don't want to have to be talking and speaking. Yeah, like, geez, it's rare. So I have a budget for that. It's a conference I'm going to. One of them is in Detroit, right? So I was like, all right, this is in June. So I know that I'm going to be coming from another conference. So I need to see what the budget is. I'm going to be flying from Orlando to Detroit to get to this conference, right? So I have to set my budget for that month. So just really looking at your calendar in advance and seeing what projects you're executing and what it costs to make it happen.
That's there. And quick soapbox for me, 30 seconds. For all you entrepreneurs out there, please earmark money in your budget for marketing. Like, don't just think you alone off your strength on Instagram, social media, whatever, can really advocate for your services. Like, look, really, please, this is my opinion, look into Facebook marketing. Facebook marketing is there's no better platform for return on investment than Facebook marketing, getting clicks, whatever. Look in other mediums to promote your project outside of just hitting social media with it, because that stuff like that, I mean, of course, if you have content, good content already out there, can really take it to the next level. So please look inside your marketing budget. This last question in this piece before we go to our last round is, for all our parents that are listening, or people that are 10, 20 years in their career, could you give some advice on some principles they could be teaching to their younger children, as well as some advice if I'm a little older, but my savings is not where I wanted to be, how to kind of retrain my mind for bad money habits?
Yeah. So I would say the first thing for kids, one of the biggest things that my mom did for me, like I said, my mom wasn't doing tons of investing, but she has always been extremely financially savvy, probably because she was an accountant. And my mom did not go to college. I mean, I think she went to community college for like 6 months or something, but she's always been extremely financially savvy. And the one thing that I realized that my mom was doing with me that nobody else was doing with their kids was talking to me about money. She would have me sit down with her when she was writing out her, like back in the day when you actually had to write checks and stuff. She would sit down with me. Like, she would like, come on, Dominique, we're doing bills for the month. And I would sit down and organize, like, all right, here, Mom, here's the cable bill. And she'd write the check out, and she would show me how she was balancing her checkbook. And I did this with her every month, to the point where even my great grandmother, when she was, when she got older and sick, I would go to her house every month and sit down and write the checks for her. And so I was always very a part of it. And my mom had those financial conversations with me. Have financial conversations with your children. Like, don't act like money is something that we don't talk about. You need to talk about it. Like, that's one of the main reasons I started my business. And I had originally launched like the social money tour and my social money events, is because the whole purpose was to provoke the conversation of money. I'm like, if we could just get people talking about it, like, it's not, I mean, people will talk, sex used to be taboo. It's not anymore, right? Yeah. Money, hopefully one day won't be taboo, but
when will money come out the closet?
I don't know. I'm hoping this year. I'm trying to make it happen. Come out. I'm trying to make it happen. But I just honestly just having those conversations with your kids, and you don't have to be like, oh no, we're broke and we can't pay our bills. Don't stress the kids out. But at least have those basic, don't make the kids think all their toys about to get repossessed. But make sure that the kids understand that, look, mom and dad or whoever go out, we actually make money. This money comes in. We use this money to feed you. And then we pay to keep the lights on so you could play your PlayStation, whatever kids play. Like, help them understand, because they think that life is just free, and it's not. Anyways, that's me and my soapbox about that. But as far as if you're older and you feel like you're behind, you haven't saved enough. For some people, they'd be like, oh my gosh, I haven't saved enough. So what's the point of starting now? Now is always the perfect time. Whatever now o'clock is, that's the perfect time. Don't wait any longer. Now is the best time ever. And start saving now, shifting those money habits. Start looking at your money. Like I said, conversation and actually looking at your finances is the biggest way to change your financial situation, and determine what goal that you're trying to reach and create a real action plan to reach that goal. So if you know that I haven't been saving nothing. I'm 55 years old. I ain't never saved nothing. This year I'm gonna start trying to save. How much do you want to save? Pick a number. If it's I don't know, $6,000. Okay, we're gonna save $500 a month. I'm gonna save $250 every paycheck, or I'm gonna save I don't know, it's $250 every paycheck, and then when I get my tax refund, I'm gonna take at least 50% of that and save it, and I'm gonna put it into an account that I can't access. Like, create a strategy, but just start now. Like, that's the key. And then there's other ways that you can save more, even with if you're over 50, retirement plans give you the ability to catch up. They allow you to contribute an extra 1,000 or whatever to the various different accounts. So they give you the ability to save more, but people don't take advantage of it. If you're not saving the minimum, then how are you going to be able to save more anyway? But, just start now. Just make sure you're starting. Don't delay any longer.
Amen, amen, amen. So that was a phenomenal round. My last round was culture change, but I do have another few quick questions about the future, because I would be remiss, every person having this podcast, we just want to share kind of what you're excited about for the future. So in 2016, for the rest of 2016 and maybe even beyond, what are you excited about?
I guess in my business.
Yeah, your business. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited about a lot of things. No, I would say in my business, I'm really, really excited about the growth that's been happening. All these different people I've been able to hire, and I think I'm going to be bringing on more financial planners and coaches, which is great, and trying to create a signature, Finances Demystified coaching program where we can actually train other people to do what I do. That's one big thing I'm excited about. I told you about the podcast I'm launching, which is going to be called Finances Demystified with Dominique Broadway, where we're actually going to be interviewing celebrities and influencers and just even regular everyday people about their experiences with money and the money lessons that they learn, so we can just start provoking that conversation. And then the last thing I'm probably most excited about is I'm delving into the financial technology space and creating more of a budgeting but more of an investing app that will provoke people to start investing for smaller amounts. And that's one of the biggest things and one of the most stressful things I'm probably trying to work on right now. But those are some of the things that I have coming up. So it should be a great year. I mean, it's already off to a good start. It's going fast, but those are some things that are in the pipeline for me.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Oh man, you got me pumped. And, before we get into the coach change round, another question, and I always ask to these people, and I hate to go get so morbid, but when your time is done here on this earth, how would you like to be remembered?
That's a good question. I feel like I'm the only person that ever talks about like death and legacy and how important that is. I actually think about that a lot because I'm preparing financially. If I died tomorrow, my family would be very happy because I have a lot of life insurance. They would be good. That's a good way. But outside of people being wealthy once I die, I would say I really just want people to remember me as someone who was trying to change the economic status of people of color. Like legit. And I don't work with just people of color, but that is a big focus of me. I hope that they can say, wow, she really spent her life trying to change the conversation around money and helping to create better lives for people of color economically. Like that's really what I hope people remember me for. And hopefully long term, I will have an impact where we can change the financial conversation that surrounds poverty, generational poverty. And the fact that, African American, the wealth gap, closing the wealth gap is something that I really hope that God has placed me on this earth to help do, because I really hate just the difference that I see, because I see both sides of it. And it's so, the gap is, they talk about the wealth gap. It is not even a gap. It is like a Berlin Wall. Like it is huge. the have and the have nots. And trying to decrease the amount of have-nots. So I really hope that that's what I'm here for and what people will know me for. And hopefully I can have a positive impact and help to start creating generational wealth amongst people of color.
Boom. That's all I got to say with that. I love it. So our last round, our most exciting round, the culture change, rapid question, rapid answer round. Are you ready to go?
I am.
All right, cool. What is the best piece of advice that you've ever received?
Don't fear failure, fear regret.
Boom. Who do you look up to? And sidebar, I've never asked this question, but I like to hear, especially from entrepreneurs that have accomplished a lot. And a lot of times, I'm always curious of like, who inspires you? Like, who do you look up to? Because when you get to a certain level, you're getting invited to different places, and you're making pretty good income, and you're looked at as an influencer. But who right now in your industry, or not even outside of your industry, is keeping you pumped and motivated?
I would have to say two people. One, Melody Hobson, just because she is one of the largest African American wealth management firms. She's huge. She also married George Lucas, so that helps. She's a billionaire.
Oh my goodness. And then Star Wars George Lucas.
Yes.
He had a black wife.
Yeah.
Oh, bro, I've never seen her in my side. No, I've never seen no pictures of her.
Google her. Her name's Melody Hobson. And the funny thing is, not a lot of people know her. She used to be really big, in the finance space, but now she kind of got married and stuff like that. And she still has a huge wealth management firm. They manage billions and billions of dollars. And the funny thing is, anytime I go somewhere and people that know her, they're like, has anyone ever told you look like Melody Hobson? And I'm like, yeah, she's a mentor in my head. So I was on a panel recently, and this lady comes into me, and she's like, do you know Melody Hobson? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I don't know her, but I know of her. She was like, you really need to meet her. She's one of my best friends. Let me introduce you to her via email. So hopefully we'll have a conversation very soon. But anyway, so Melody Hobson and the other person, actually, I have to say one of my really good friends, Jewel Burks. She's the founder of Part Pick. And she probably doesn't even know this, but I look up to her more than anyone.
She was on Forbes, right?
Yes. Yeah. She was on Forbes, and she's one of my really great friends. And I just remember a couple years ago, we were all in her house, me and one of my other friends, and we were crying and trying to quit our businesses. This was maybe 2.5 years ago. So entrepreneurs, we try to quit our businesses all the time. And we all were like, we're going to quit our business. We're all going to go work at Google, because she works at Google. And obviously we didn't, but I always look back, and when she wins these awards, and I always text her, I'm like, Jewel, what if we had quit that night? What if we had quit? You wouldn't have raised $2.5 million. All these different things. So those are actually two people that I look up to most.
That's a great.
Yeah.
Another question. What is one of your personal habits that you can attribute to your success?
I have a lot of bad personal habits.
This is good. You already shared the bad.
Oh my God, there's so many bad ones. I would have to say some of my bad ones are actually some of my good ones. I would have to say, me just being persistent and being crazy enough to think I can do this. I think that's a good habit of mine. I'm very optimistic, and I am a true entrepreneur where I do before I plan a lot of times. And I think I thought it was a bad trait, but I'm realizing it's a good trait. And I think that has a lot to do with where I am now. I don't worry about having everything perfectly aligned. I just go. Yeah.
What is your favorite book and why?
I would have to say one of my favorite books is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. It's a book I read, I guess when it first came out, 10 years ago or something like that. And it's still to this day one of my favorite books by Robert Kiyosaki. There's another book that I've read recently, which I don't like. I like a good self-help book, but I don't like those fluffy books. But it was called You're a Badass or something like that. And the book was so good. I can't even remember the name of it, but if you Google You're a Badass self-help book, the book was so the whole book was wow. It just reminds you, a lot of times you get so caught up in comparing yourselves to other people. Man, I wish I had done this, or they did this, I didn't do this. But it kind of just says, no, Dominique, you're a badass. Stop. Don't why are you thinking that you're not? You can do this, So I think that's another good book for me that I pick up pretty frequently just to remind myself how awesome I am.
Remind yourself. Nobody built like you.
Nobody else will.
Design yourself, Jay-Z. I love that. Love it. What inspires you and keeps you motivated?
I would have to say, outside of my family and stuff, my clients, man. My clients and people that I meet. When my clients call me and tell me, Dominique, I'm going to a settlement next week on my house, and knowing that a year ago this person had tons of credit card debt and was living paycheck to paycheck. Or when I'm done at a speaking engagement and someone comes up to me and your story touched me. Sometimes when you want to quit, it's plenty of days. Even now, I'm like, man, I get recruited I get recruiting calls from major firms all the time. Come do this, come work with us. And some days you're just like, man, it's so hard to be an entrepreneur. You're constantly having to create. And I'm like, it'd be so easy not to have to worry about no employees. I can just go get a job.
You're always rebranding. Like whenever your website gets good, then it's like, oh, we off that now. It's just like we on mobile
you're
now.
Always, and that's in addition to just trying to regular manage everyday clients, things like that. But when people come up to you and say that, you know, you're the person I've been looking for. I haven't been able to find anyone who can relate with me. You know, hearing your story has motivated me to do X, Y, and Z. It's like, wow, this motivates me every day. And you don't need to hear that every day. It's not like you need someone to come stroke your ego, but you know, a lot of times you can forget your why when you're running the day-to-day activities of your business. You get so caught up in paying your employees and doing this and doing that, and you forget about your why. And then you go to an event and you speak, and there's a people lined up at the end to tell you, thank you for coming, and thank you for motivating me, and thank you for reminding me. And it's like, oh, this is why I started this. So those are the things that keep me going. I mean, it sounds really corny, but it really is.
It really is. It really is. 'Cause you get to that point, it's like, well, because I mean, imagine like 10 years ago, this is what you dreamed of doing, or even like just even the impact. Maybe not specifically what you're doing, but just having that impact. But when you get there, you may get off stage. The first thing you might be like, man, I messed up on this, or I could have done better this. And you got people like, oh, thank you, whatever. And you're engaged with them, but you're thinking about the next one or this. And it's like, wow, be grateful for that moment. Like, wow.
And that's the biggest thing, like stopping and enjoying the moment. And it's as an entrepreneur, you forget to do that. Like, you know, I mean, I'm sitting here now on a Saturday morning getting interviewed by you about how apparently you think I'm cool. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, but I'm so behind on this. I'm so behind on that. And like, and you need to stop. Like, nah, this is cool. This is dope. Like, you know, I'm going to so-and-so in a couple of weeks to speak at this school. Like, that's going to be dope. Like, you know, and you just have to stop and enjoy, because if you don't, this can be an ugly, boring, horrible journey, you know, so really a lonely journey too. So, but yeah.
If you were the president of the United States, this is the last question of this round. What is the first thing you would do?
This is, well, you know, honestly, the first thing I would do is I would make financial literacy a requirement in all schools, and life skills in general in all schools a requirement. That's literally the first thing that I would do.
Yeah.
First thing I would do.
Our last question, that was a great rapid fire answer round. Our last question, I call myself the culture change agent in this whole show, and I interview change agents because we're all changing the culture in our own lane. So this question is really pivotal, specifically for the African American community. So if you could change one thing about society, most specifically our African American culture, what would it be and why?
I would say this is interesting. I would say I would love if I could change anything, I would like if everyone had the same starting point in life. I wish everyone had the same advantages or the same opportunities. I wish it really was like an equal opportunity nation where, I don't know, everyone just had the same starting point, so there was no excuses. Because there's some people who are born and they're born starting out at a deficit, right? And I really wish, I mean, maybe that's a conversation I need to have with God, but I really wish that everyone, especially people of color, we all started out in the same place. We all had, you know, similar story, you know, similar beginning stories or similar opportunities allowed to us. And I feel like within the African American community, there's a majority of us are starting out at a deficit. You know, they're starting out in a single parent household. They're starting out already in a bad socioeconomic situation. And I wish that could change, you know, and I don't know how, or I mean, obviously if I did, I don't know, but I don't know. I just wish there were more opportunities for people. And I wish that a lot of African Americans that could see and were exposed to the fact that they can do better, they can do more. So.
And I think you're doing a perfect job of it now. I mean, that's why we have podcasts. We don't get the podcast to stand on a soapbox and speak about ourselves. We on this podcast to speak of life and to start connecting different influences of color and start leveraging each other and our resources to leverage the community. So I think right now our culture
and especially our generation right now, the millennials are doing in my opinion, an amazing job growing their personal brands and growing enterprises and doing great things. And I think we're slowly shifting to how can we work together and stuff that makes sense. That doesn't mean we're all joining same businesses and all this other stuff, but in stuff that makes sense to have a greater impact on the community and the culture as a whole. Because I mean, there's never going to be a starting point, but what we can do is provide opportunities to financial literacy, provide opportunities to life skills, provide opportunities to entrepreneurship, provide opportunities to, so that we can level the playing field. So I think we're doing an amazing job. You yourself and everybody that's had on this podcast is doing an amazing job of starting that push to create the field, because at the end of the day, you know, just like in finances, you can create as many budgets and many programs all this have for your clients, but if they do not take the responsibility, then they're gonna be broke. But man, this has been a powerful episode. I'm excited to get a chance to talk with you, to share this community, and to finally really connect and get a whole 360 of what you're doing. So for our audience, from Minority Trailblazer Nation, I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And also, too, please, and how can our audience get in contact with you? Like, where can we find you at? We want to get coached, or we want you to book you for a speaking engagement. We just want to just get some free tips. We don't want all that paid stuff. We just want to get a webinar. Like, what can we find more about you online?
Yeah, so you can go to my website, dominiquebroadway.com. If you can't spell it, just Google. I'm pretty Googleable. But yeah, just go to dominiquebroadway.com. That's my website. It's tons of free resources on there. We're going to be doing a lot more free online trainings every month, which is going to be pretty cool. Follow me on Instagram. I post like a lot of financial stuff. My Instagram is Dominique Broadway, and then on Twitter it's Miss Finance Coach, MS Finance Coach, and then it's the same thing on Facebook as well. So yeah, that's where you can find me. I do a lot of free online things. In-person workshops, and just trying to make finance fun. You know, that's the whole goal.
Once again, I would like to thank each and every person that has tuned in and listened all the way through to the Minority Trailblazer podcast, man. It has been a pleasure. It has been a journey. Thank you so much for your time. And make sure you leave a review. You share it with a friend. And you already know how we do. You know how we do. You know how we do. I just do one thing, and one thing only. What is that, G Hill? Change the freaking culture. And go to a seminar too. If you're in Atlanta, if you're in New York, or you're in DC, they having this seminar. Make sure you get your ticket today. Peace.